You can't count on first impressions to give you all the information on just about anything, and this tool proves that. Check out this CRAFTSMAN V20 belt sander. This guy has a 3" by 18" belt, 600 to 950 surface feet per minute. So it's all done via this dial. We have a trigger, which feels like it's variable speed, but it is not. Dust collection system on the side. We have a smaller track here, little wheels. That's what kind of throws me on this. It is spring loaded, does have a quick detach so we can get this sandpaper out. Sandpaper that comes with it is 80 grit. This is a fairly stiff piece that is taped together. They're all taped together like this, but this one doesn't feel super strong where the tape is, especially with the smaller wheels. There is more of an angle that gets put on this, and I have it sitting on the dust collection, so it makes it a little bit harder for me to get this on. This model is different. I don't know what to say. This model is just different than many that I've looked at in the past, and I'm going to go over this a little bit different than I normally do all our tool reviews. First things first, the first thing that threw me is I felt like there was a lot of plastic on this model. Down here, plastic. Normally we see a lot of metal, even though this section here with the quick release is metal, and it works good. It works smooth. It's nice. I just see metal up in front, and while we're looking at this, take this off again quickly. There is the normal metal piece on the bottom that flows. There's corkboard underneath it, so that helps everything go through. It helps keep everything flat, so you're getting a good surface there. I like this. Sometimes we don't see corkboard underneath. We just see this smooth piece of metal. We have a good wheel up front. This is plastic, not a big deal, I don't think. Many of them are like an aluminum, and they're a little bit larger. This piece in back, that is the drive wheel, this is rubber, normal. Everything here looks good. There is metal on the inside here, so it isn't that big of a deal that I see a lot of plastic, I guess. It threw me when I first looked at it, and I said, wow, that just feels like a lot more plastic than we're used to on this. And normally when we look at a CRAFTSMAN unit, I think of it like it was a DeWalt at one point in time. And this does not remind me of any of the DeWalts that I've used, although it is going to be their brushless line, which is their runtime and performance. It just seems a little bit different. Now the tracking seems very normal. It is basically a screw, lever, button, whatever you want to call this, on the side, so we can turn this guy on. Move the tracking around. It does track well. It seems to move around good. Everything is there. Now, one thing that kind of has me, especially in different angles, this is a lock-on button. So it is right there next to your thumb. Very easy to push in, very easy to use. Sometimes I've pushed it just messing around with this on accident. It's a little different. But what has kind of thrown me is this adjustable front handle. Not that it's a big deal. When you pull this out of the box, this guy sits just like this, which makes sense because if you're coming up against something that you need to get really flush with, you can pull everything back behind here. This is a great idea, but it just looks funny because it is such a narrow piece here. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you put your hand on it. It goes in 3 different positions, and there's a detent at both. This is the middle position. That's the far back one. This would be great if you were working upside down. Trust me, it just seems like it's right there. Then we have the middle position, which is good for different areas. I guess wherever you want to get into that might not be as far forward. Then we have the far forward position that 99% of people are going to use. So when you screw this in, it gets to a tight point right here. And this handle still feels like it'll move slightly. You have to keep going. You can see there's a little gap, and it'll all of a sudden kind of go right past it and screw in tight. Just different. Again, we had that adjustment up front. There's multiple different places. It's listed 1 to 5, but there's 10 different places it will stop. Dust collection on this, fairly normal positioning. Everything looks good. This is a great place for a hose or that you can put on a vacuum. Everything's going to be good here. Placement's good. Bag seems small. I don't know why. I'm just used to much larger bags. Small area here that's coming up into the dust collection system. We're going to see how that goes. But I don't know why this just feels incredibly different than many other models that I've seen. And maybe it's the plastic, maybe it's the looks. If you take a look at this here, maybe it's this thin piece that I'm not used to seeing. However it is, it has me thrown off. Classic Craftsman grip. You know when you're hanging on to this, you have a Craftsman. There's nothing wrong with this so far. I just feel like some of the things I'm looking at seem different. We have a fully charged 5 amp hour battery on here, and the things I'm looking for are dust collection in power. Well, I'm going to use this and push on it more than I should. It's going to move around my stand a little bit. I just want to see how much power this guy has and how well the dust collection is. Let's get it started. So pushing down like that and listening to the motor go down. Obviously you wouldn't do that in a normal situation, but it's nice to know that it just isn't cutting out. So that's good. I have a lot of dust on my shoes and on the floor. The other thing I want to test is if I turn this sideways, and you're not supposed to, right? But we've heard on a few other instances with comments that they can't keep the belts on. And here I need to adjust the belt a little bit. So we're in the center, but I'm basically going to use this a little sideways and just see what happens to the belt. It should move a little bit. Obviously you shouldn't do this, but again, just a test. And belt stayed right where it was. I think I moved it over a little too far. That was good. Everything's great there. Let's go through some of the speeds. So here we're at the slowest speed. I'm just going to put some pressure on it just to see what happens. Again, shouldn't do that, but it's not cutting out at all. And I think that is pretty good. It's nice to see something that we can use in different situations, get a little pressure on it if you needed to, but we're not having any issues with it cutting out. Let's go back up. Pretty good. Let's take a look at what we have as far as dust. This will interest me, and I know it's a little weird, but I just want to turn this guy on. I'm going to use it backwards, and we're going to watch what comes out of this quick. Quite a bit. You can't see it. It's blowing a lot of dust to the other side, which is interesting. Now here, that means that there's decent pickup, I guess, in that, and that's good. This bag, in my opinion, is full. There's room left in there, but I think eventually as you get to a point where you get this much wood fibers in there, sawdust, you get to a point where less of the bag is available for it to be caught and less air can move through. So the bag could be bigger, but again, I guess this is more of a DIY situation. So for that, you're just going to stop and empty the bag a little bit more. Not a big deal. So I'm going to try a vacuum. The DeWalt StealthSonic vacuums to me are amazing. This does not fit. So I have to come up with my own way of attaching a vacuum. Not a big deal, we'll get her done. Feel like it's the red-green show here, but our vacuum is attached. We'll see how long it stays attached. The DeWalt StealthSonic rocks to turn that on. So we're doing a lot of pulling of air right through here. It's interesting. Let's just see what happens. Not bad. There is some falling on the floor. Nothing like before. That's pretty amazing. You know, for the smaller wheels, everything else that's going on in here, we're obviously picking up quite well through this. Vacuum attachment works great. So everything I went over in the beginning, all the plastic, all the things that felt weird, the things that were different to me, really didn't come into play when you actually use this. It seriously has good power. It has decent dust collection, albeit a small bag. That was probably the only thing that came to really light while we were going through this, is that the bag fills up quite quickly if you're using something like pine, and I'm sure it would with any soft wood that you're going through, that you're taking a lot of material off. There's 80 grit on here. If you're looking to buy this, you know, 80 grit will move some material with wood. It's what's recommended. Obviously you can go with a little bit heavier if you need to take paint off or anything like that, but the reality is of what's going on here, you might want to go with a little bit lighter paper and have something else in that 3 by 18 inch belt so that you can use it in different situations right off the bat. This is going to be pretty heavy for a softwood, probably spot on for an oak if you wanted to take something down, or a harder maple. This is really light on the battery. There's a little bit of heat here, nothing crazy. You know, we still are showing a full battery here on this 5 amp hour. Everybody asked me where I got that 5 amp hour, and it came with a tool. There's 2 of them. I'm not 100% sure if it was a lawnmower or what it was, because these aren't readily always out there, but it's going to be the same with a 4 amp hour or anything else. Speed is fine. Speed, the lock-on's fine. Everything works good. The front handle is very comfortable where I have it. If you wanted different positions, I think it's nice to have there. Just don't get your mindset right off the bat on, wow, there's a little bit of slop in it. Learn that that handle needs to be adjusted and tightened up a little bit more. And I think once you get that out of your head, it's really nice. As far as the belt and staying in the right spot, it actually did. I think that is good. We hear that a lot where people talk about the belt moving around and not being able to keep it centered. This was not a problem. I wanted to make sure I even tested that a little bit extra, because that's something a lot of people talk about. Dust collection with a vacuum. I know, hokey way of putting a vacuum on, but I'll tell you, if you're working inside, working in your shop, doing something DIY, and you don't have to do it over and over again, and that just was something you put on once, I mean, a little duct tape, and it worked. I can't find in the instructions anywhere where they say, here's a port that connects to this. Obviously, the looks of it shows that something probably does. It wasn't in the instructions. I don't have anything that connects right up to this guy. This worked and did quite well. Overall, it's great. It might not be something that every contractor is looking for. They might want a little bit larger wheels, a little bit longer belt, something that's going to last a little bit longer, something that's going to get into different places and be a little bit more boxy rather than long. But either way, I still think that this could work in a professional setting. It's just a little bit different than many of the others that are on the market. And I think that's what kind of threw me when I first looked at it. Overall, it's great. If you want a heavy duty metal or more metal construction inside your belt sander, this isn't the way to go. If this is priced right for you and you're looking for something in this price range and you have that CRAFTSMAN battery, it works. Curious to know what you guys think. Leave some comments below. Give us a like in this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.